Tony McNeil.
Ode to Brother Joe. Nothing can soak Brother Joe's tough sermon, his head swollen with certainties. When he lights up a spliff, you can't. Door to God, usually shut, gives in a rainbow gust. Then it's time for the pipe, which is filled with its water base, and handed to him for his blessing. He bends over the stem, goes into the long grace, and the drums start. The drums start, Hail Selassie I, Jah Rastafari, and the room fills with the power and beauty of blackness, a furnace of optimism. But the law thinks different. This evening the Babylon catch Brother Joe in his act of praise and carry him off to the workhouse. Who'll save Brother Joe? Hail Selassie is far away and couldn't care less. And the promised ship is 1,000,000 light years from Freeport. But the drums in the tenement house are sadder than usual tonight, and the brothers suck hard at their slips and pipes. Before the night's over, Brother Joe has become a martyr, but still in jail. And only his woman, who appreciates his humanness more, will deny herself of the weed tonight to hire a lawyer and put up a real fight. Meantime, in the musty cell, Joe invokes, almost from habit, the magic words, Hail Selassie I, Jah Rastafari. But the door is rail and remains shut. Black space. Someone in charge went soft or forgot and pressed. That one mistake was enough. The suddenly freed ciphers went quite ecstatic. Programmed to go berserk at this juncture did precisely that. Shied off like unstoppable bats, signaling out to the atom which split. The earth bifurcated. 99 9/10 of the race blacked out in an instant and hooked. The surviving fraction was shortly disposed of by radiation, but the ciphers came through it unscratched. Millennia later, their set processes continue to tick. The crater's needle unsteadied zigzags down and up. The atom drained has quietly recombined. The ciphers packed flat out along the ground, responsive as gigas, implacably poised for the first life stirrings under the stones. And should some man-like mutation in fact persist, should it stick up its head and attempt to surface, be assured of residual signals assigned to instruct the atom to split one more time and smash down. Then the zombies will go to town.
Dennis Scott.
Uncle Time. Uncle Time is a old man. All year long him wash him foot in the sea. Long, lazy years on the wet sand, and shake the coconut tree them quiet like, with him sea wind laughter, scraping away the land. Uncle Time is a Spider-Man, cunning and cool. Him tell you, watch the hill and you see me. For your eye not quick enough to see how he move like mongoose. Man, you think him fool? Me Uncle Time smile black as sorrow. Him voice is soft as bamboo leaf, but Lord, me Uncle cruel. When him play in the street with your woman, watch him. By tomorrow she dry as cane fire, bitter as cassava. And when him teach your son, long after you walk with stranger, and your bread is grief, watch how him spin web round your house and creep inside. And when him touch you, weep. Fisherman. The scales like metal flint his feet, their empty eyes like me. How gay their colors in the heat, cool as the oily sea. With gentle hands he slits the heart, and the flesh as white as milk, and the ribboned entrails fall apart like the fall of coiling silk. Some day I too shall fish, and find on stranger shores than these the ribs and muscles of my blind self, rainbowed from the seas. Farmer's Notebook. The canes burn. I show you a vision of smoke. Poled high, cut, her head startles the children. Birds die crisply among our cutlasses, blood-drunk, shriveled, smaller than her tongue. Perhaps it is the heat she complained of, year after year. I remember her rings, heavy as iron, and the great linen sails of her gown's passage. Hoisted now, her yellow hair silent, she stares home past our hate, through the ash falling like grey wind on her mouth, loose in the shimmering air. And when the field furls out later its emerald knives, will you forget that thick flesh hair, grown soft and nourishing? For the last time, fire. That August, the birds kept away from the village, afraid. People were hungry. The phoenix hid at the sun's center and stared down at the banker's house, which was plump and factual, like zero. Every good banker knows there's no such bird. She came to the house like an old cat, wanting a different kind of labor. But the banker was busy feeding his dogs, who were nervous. Perhaps she looked dangerous. The child threshed in her belly when she fell. The womb cracked, slack-lipped, leaving a slight trace of blood on the lawn. Delicately, the phoenix placed the last straw on its nest. Mrs. So-and-so, the banker's wife, beat time in her withdrawing room, walked her moods among the fluted teacups, toying with crusted foods. The house hummed Bach, arithmetic at rest. The phoenix sang along with the record and sat, but the villagers counted heads and got up. So logical as that spiral worming the disk to a hole in the center, one night there were visitors carrying fire. The dogs died first. Then they gutted everything. Something shook itself out of the ash. Wings, perhaps.
Mervyn Morris.
Literary Evening, Jamaica. In a dusty, old, crumbling building just fit for rats, and much too large for precious poetry circles, the culture fans sat scattered in the first 10 rows, listening for English poetry. Jeff read Larkin beautifully, Enright too, and Michael Saunders talked between the poems. "I don't say they are wonderful," he said, "and would not say that anybody says they're great. I offer them as two fair English poets writing nowadays. They're anti-gesture, anti-flatulence. They speak their quiet honesties without pretense." The longer section of the evening's program was poems by the locals, undergraduates, some coarse, some wild, and many violent, all bloody with the strains of rape and childbirth, screaming hot curses anti-slavery. "Down with the limey bastards, up the blacks, Christ, let's tear the painted paper off all the blasted cracks." The more I heard, the more it seemed a pretty rotten choice to read us Larkin. Dull-mannered, scared, regressive Phil, saying no to everything, or soon, not yet. So many bulging poets must have blushed, and wondered where the hell they'd ever get with noisy poems, brash, self-conscious, colorful, and feared that maybe they were born too crude. Maybe they were. But it was bloody rude seeming to ask for things that don't belong out here where sun shines hot and love is plentiful. For to us, standing here, a naked nation bracing ourselves for blows, what use is fearfulness and bland negation? What now if honesty should choose to say, in all this world's confusion, that we are still too young for disillusion? Valley Prince for Dundee. Me one, way out in the crowd, I blow the sounds, the pain, but not a soul would come inside my world or tell me how it true. I love a melancholy baby, sweet, with fire in her belly, and like a spite, the woman turn a whore. Cool and smooth around the beat, she wake the note inside me, and I blow me mind. Inside here, me one in the crowd again. And plenty people want me blow it straight. But straight is not the way. My world don't go so. That is lie. Wanna give me back my trombone, man? It's time to blow me mind. To an expatriate friend. Color meant nothing. Anyone who wanted help, had humor, or was kind was brother to you. Categories of skin were foreign. You were colorblind. And then the revolution. Black and loud the horns of anger blew against the long oppression. Sufferers cast off the precious values of the few. New powers re-enslaved us all, each person manacled in skin, in race. You could not wear your paid-up dues. The keen discriminators typed your face. The future darkening, you thought it time to say goodbye. It may be you were right. It hurt to see you go, but more, it hurt to see you slowly going white.
Derek Walcott.
The Glory Trumpeter. Old Eddie's face, wrinkled with river lights, looked like a Mississippi man's. The eyes, derisive and avuncular at once, swiveling, fixed me. They'd seen too many wakes, too many cat-house nights. The bony, idle fingers and the valves of his knee-cradled horn could tear through Georgia on my mind or Jesus Saves with the same fury of indifference if what propelled such frenzy was despair. Now as the eyes sealed in the ashen flesh, and Eddie, like a deacon at his prayer, rose, tilting the bright horn, I saw a flash of gulls and pigeons from the dunes of coal near my grandmother's barracks on the wharves. I saw the sallow faces of those men who sighed as if they spoke into their graves about the Negro in America. That was when the Sunday comics sprawled out on her floor, sent from the States, had a particular odor, dry smell of money mingled with man's sweat. And yet if Eddie's features held our fate, secure in childhood I did not know then a Jesus ragtime or gut bucket blues, to the bowed heads of lean, compliant men back from the States in their funereal surge, black, rusty Hamburgs and limp waiters' ties, slow honey accents and loud-colored eyes, was Joshua's ram's horn wailing for the Jews of patient bitterness or bitter siege. Now it was that as Eddie turned his back on our young crowd out fetting, swilling liquor, and Blue, eyes closed, 1 foot up, out to sea, his horn aimed at those cities of the Gulf, Mobile and Galveston, and sweetly meted their horn of plenty through his bitter cup, in lonely exaltation, blaming me for all whom race and exile have defeated, for my own uncle in America, that living there I never could look up. A letter from Brooklyn. An old lady writes me in a spidery style, each character trembling, and I see a veined hand, pellucid as paper, traveling on a skein of such frail thoughts, its thread is often broken. Or else the filament from which a phrase is hung dims to my sense, but caught, it shines like steel. As touch a line, and the whole web will feel. She describes my father, yet I forget her face more easily than my father's yearly dying. Of her I remember small buttoned boots and the place she kept in our wooden church on those Sundays whenever her strength allowed. Gray-haired, thin-voiced, perpetually bowed. I am Mabel Rollins, she writes, and know both your parents. He is dead, Miss Rollins, but God bless your tense. Your father was a dutiful, honest, faithful, and useful person. For such plain praise, what fame is recompense? A horn painter, he painted delicately on horn. He used to sit around the table and paint pictures. The peace of God needs nothing to adorn it, nor glory, nor ambition. He is 28 years buried, she writes. He was called home, and is, I am sure, doing greater work. The strength of one frail hand, in a dim room somewhere in Brooklyn, patient and assured, restores my sacred duty to the word. Home, home, she can write with such short time to live, alone as she spins the blessings of her years, not withered of beauty if she can bring such tears, nor withdrawn from the world that breaks its lovers so. Heaven is to her the place where painters go, all who bring beauty on frail shell or horn. There was all made, thence their looks mundi drawn, drawn till the thread is resilient steel, lost though it seems in darkening periods, and there the return to do work that is God's. So this old lady writes, and again I believe it all, and for no man's death I grieve. God rest ye merry, gentlemen. Splitting from Jack Delaney's Sheridan Square that winter night, stewed, seasoned in bourbon, my body kindled by the whistling air, snowing the village that Christ was reborn. I lurched like any lush by his own glow across towards 6, and froze before the tracks of footprints bleeding on the virgin snow. I tracked them where they led across the street to the bright side, entering the wax-sealed smell of neon, human heat, some all-night diner with its wise guy cook, his stub thumb in my bowl of stew, on one man's pulped and beaten face, its look acknowledging all that white dark outside was possible. Some beast prowling the block, something fur-clotted, running wild beyond the boundary of will. Outside, more snow had fallen, my heart charred. I longed for darkness, evil that was warm. Walking, I'd stop and turn. What had I heard, wheezing behind my heel with whitening breath? Nothing. 6th Avenue yawned wet and wide. The night was white. There was nowhere to hide. Mass man. Through a great lion's head clouded by mange, a black clerk growls. Next, a gold-wired peacock withholds a man. A fan flaunting its oval, jeweled eyes. What metaphors, what coruscating, mincing fantasies. Hector Mannix, waterworks clerk, San Juan, has entered a lion. Boise, 2 golden mangoes, bobbing for breastplates, barges like Cleopatra down her river, making style. Join us, they shout. Oh God, child, you can't dance. But somewhere in that whirlwind's radiance, a child, rigged like a bat, collapses, sobbing. But I am dancing. Look, from an old gibbet, my bull-whipped body swings, a metronome. Like a fruit bat dropped in the silk cotton shade, my mania is a terrible calm. Upon your penitential morning, some skull must rub its memory with ashes. Some mind must squat down, howling in your dust. Some hand must crawl and recollect your rubbish. Someone must write your poems.
Edward Brathwaite.
Francina. In the park that was once green, had a lake, 2 red stone lions, a macaw, monkeys, humped 100-year-old turtle with pale pink shellfish eyes. The mayor and council, thin, brown, impressive men with black crack liquor voices, have built a dance hall and a barbecue so that the city-sick electorate can brawl and stew their buttocks in thick, saucy tunes and latest jukebox choices. The green is gone now, trees cut down, grass cruelled underfoot, the lake converted to a parking lot. And yet these publicists with hitch of trousers, flick of switch, bawl out through red-eyed microphones how they will build the island. Hotels where there were pebbles, casinos where the casuarinas sang, and flowing fields of tourists for our daily bread. The island needs them, and indeed we do. Our people are too poor to be too selfish with their sun. The world is thirsty for our rum and what we have to offer in the way of good jump up and baby watch me jive. But what about that humpbacked turtle with the shellfish eyes? Francina bought it. She used to scale fish in the market, so I suppose she got a nose for slimy things like eels and red-tailed lobsters, though my eyes can't see what she want with a turtle that's too old to be a father. Besides, she can't even afford it. She's get the shakes these days in she fingers. She knows always running, and I hear she's weeby the bed. How she thinks she could spare $9.35 for a wrinkle-faced monster you can't even eat, when she can't keep she body and soul seem together. I can't understand it. I really can't understand it. But I thought that she head was holding more sense in it brain pan. Kadir, you wouldn't think she could spend them $1.35 pan a man? I know it hard when your face take on so. Black bony cheekbones and she blubber mouth smelling like lard oil. Not one of the fishermen's toiling down here would be seen even dead in the dark of she company. But I wish she wasn't wasting she cash pan a turtle. Bread. Slowly the white dream wrestles to life, hands shaping the salt and the foreign cornfields. The cold flesh kneaded by fingers is ready for the charcoal, for the black wife of heat, for the years of green sleeping in the volcano. The dream becomes tougher, settling into its shape like a bullfrog. Sun rises and electrons touch it. Walls melt into brown, move into crisp and crackle, breathing edge of the knife. Noise of the shop, noise of the farmer, market. On this slab of wood, on this table with its oilskin cloth, on this altar of the bone, this sacrifice of Isaac, the warm bread, merchandise, more than worn merchandise, life itself, the dream of the soil itself, flesh of the God you break, peace to your lips, strife of the multitudes who howl all day for its savior, who need its crumbs, as fish, flickering in their element of dumbness, need a wide glassy wisdom to keep their groans alive. And this loaf here, this life now halted, more and more water additive, the dream less clear, the soil more distant, its prayer of table, bless of lips, more hard of hearing, hard to reach with pennies, the knife that should have cut it, the hands that should have broken open its victory of crusts at your throat, Balaam watching with red eyes, the rats finding only this empty husk, sharpening their ratchets Your wife going out on the streets, searching, searching, her feet tapping the light of the cars, watching, watching, rounding the shape of her girdle, her back naked, rolled into night without morning, rolled into death without dream, rolled into life without bread.
Frank Cullimore.
Voici la plume de mon oncle. In a couple of weeks' time, school will reopen, if not with a flourish of trumpets, at least with a shout from the several hundred boys gathered together in the building. And although a few perhaps may wonder what it's all about, this fuss of education, I mean, their parents and the others who have to foot the bill of books and shoes will be prouder than ever that their young are well on the road to knowledge. Not that they'll be caring particularly who's going to dish out the stuff, or even what it is for that matter. Only the platters have got to be licked clean, and afterwards, with a school certificate nicely framed, and the new order hovering suspiciously near the scene. French irregular verbs, quadratic equations, maybe a century in the first division, who knows? And for those who can't take it all in by the prescribed method, there's a road to the brain via the backside by means of blows. And I think of these youngsters, large or small, earnest or wayward, or frankly indifferent, but all, however, quite sure that the ablative absolute and the acts by Marshall are the proven paths to a status that's secure. Then there's prayers every morning and double-entry bookkeeping, 1 foot in heaven and 1 in the things that matter, and only 5 or 6 years, $12 a term at the most, plenty of time afterwards to fornicate, guzzle, and chatter. But the milestone will have been successfully passed then. No one can point an accusing finger at you and say, poor fellow, he never had a chance to find out what a really sound education can do. He's discovered the difference between right and wrong. You can't go wrong if you crib the words from the book. See how nicely his tie sits underneath his collar? You can always tell an educated man if you know just where to look. See, he takes his hat off when the band is playing the national anthem. That man's no bloody fool. He owns 3 houses and a drugstore in Pork Market. He has learnt to use both edges of the golden rule. Yes, he won't have to use a hoe or lie out in the open, wondering what about things are or why they go. Physical geography, the cadet company, and the tables will have taught him all there really is to know. He won't need to seek other pleasures in dreams or visions. He can shut out from his mind that morbid stuff the schools ignore. Love, truth, and beauty. He's got a damn good job, and that's enough to keep him and his wife and his women and his children with a proper sense of things and the glory of God, till he's too old to worry about anything, till the cemetery stakes out his claim to eternity on a marble cross 6 inches deep in the sod. Reflection on wrecked kites. On the sagging telephone wires just outside my window hang the corpses of what were once 3 joyous little kites. Only a few days ago they were describing fussy little arcs up there in the blue. Bobbing and buzzing, they soared as they flew, and now they look so forlorn, so pitiful, hanging there limply, their flat, silly heads wiggling in the breeze, their scraggly tails twined round the swaying wires, their happy function frustrated, their brief day done. They remind me of the illustrations you see in pseudomedical books of spade-headed, wiggly-tailed spermatozoa. And when you come to think of it, they themselves are the most pathetic little things. So many trillions of billions of millions of them never get anywhere. But unlike kites, some of them do. And I am glad this sunny Sunday morning that some of me set out on one that did. Lullaby. Darkness broods on earth and air, spilling shadows everywhere. Love lies dreaming, love is near. Lay your head to sleep. The crooked shadows bound and leap headlong through the looking glass. Into nothingness they pass. Lay your head to sleep. Light will break in other guise, color blossom beneath skies where lamb with tawny lion lies. Lay your head to sleep. Tomorrow, now and yesterday, slowly through the night will creep, all their harvest yours to reap. Lay your head to sleep. All the night-long loveliness, yours, my darling, to possess, and your soft closed eyelids bless. Lay your head to sleep.
Eric Roach.
Caribbean Calypso. Roads were rougher in their island kingdom when Shakespeare cut and chiseled at his verse, and Marlowe, martyred in a brawling tavern, was made immortal on the kiss of death, his bright blood streaming in the firmament. The kingdom was royal woman's fief, the poniard was sharp private enterprise, and the long sword a prize inheritance. Heroes dreamed great Viking voyages westward ho, sails through Cologne's horizons, and, well, Drake still at nombre Dios. John Hawkins pounced upon a continent, kidnapped the innocents in paradise, middle passaged for the Spanish Indies, telling his psalms to trades, bartered, sold me for indigo, molasses, cotton, spice, and such sort of savory merchandise. Those whom bondage bit to bone, who early learnt to sieve grief stones through hardihood and prayer and song, repaint the tragic mask. Buried living in the clay, resurrected to the sun, they yearn to kiss the clouds, to fondle the moon's drum, and strum the trades' guitars. They chorus calypsos, lusty flagella for dancers' bawdy hips. But Platonic time instructs the ignorant to wrest wisdom, art, and song from the loins of joy and grief. A net was wrought to Saint Antilles, to a hope, archipelago to state, where once our nigger hate cursed the bitter cane, the isles it could not flee, and the imprisoning sea. New seasons kissed plantations, droughts conceived and bloomed, ratoons of canes and slaves swore sweet blood brotherhood, and called from parishes to sea-bound parishes in our mid-century swim. But asses brayed, and the brittle dream shattered to shards of cays and shoals that pricked our hearts to tears. The drummer and the drum, sprung of an ancient womb, crouch at the tree's root, and are her flower and fruit. A voice and a guitar serenade a star. The hoeman and his sweat knead immortal corn into mortal bread to the fierce rhyme of need. Hands of reapers pluck rum from a ripe stalk. Prisoners of history, our skin and circumstance, we have small room to dance. A thin shard of land, defiant of the sea, defines our destiny. Water is no mirage where there is always water. Dwellers by blue-green bays and hilltops over oceans, no dreams walk easily a sandaled Christ, and seas, blue as his gospel truth, pilgrim to ancestral sources, to find home nowhere from these summery islands, nowhere beyond the tide marks and their creeks. For on each wave of his far voyages, even in Circe's arms, Odysseus yearns for the sun-drenched, wind-blistered, rain-sweetened kingdom where he walked barefoot in baronies of cane and fiefs of corn and yams in the sounds of private seas. In laboratories of islands, the sun compounds chemicals of cultures, scholars, towns strange everywhere, but in their hothouse homes. And here the songsmith tunes the stiff Shakespearean rhyme to the lilt of Kansas seas. Listen, the lyric drum swings laughter, love, and grief through one melodic line.
John Figueroa. Mauricio is dead. In memoriam, Mauricio Swadesh. Mauricio se murió. Mauricio el Suave. Among los anglosajones, he wrote, one does not speak of death, pero en Mexico, death is among those interesting themes that keep alive an evening's talk. Se murió Mauricio, Mauricio el Suave. What have I said that you will remember, friend, when they tell you I'm dead? What will you remember, friend? That in Anglo-Saxon countries one does not speak of death. Remember Mauricio, Mauricio el Suave, who in Jamaica broke his journey to Ascos Quetal and left and died. Perhaps even here in Lima, among tambours, Latinos, and saffron dancers, I should have let it pass, held back the urge, not dropped among foaming pisque sours and mutual friends. Swadesh se murió. He too must have faced this problem, often among drum beats and taut whispers of the guitar, dying often as once again, hearing such news, you and I have died before the final death. Portrait of a woman, firmly, sweetly refusing, tall for 17, fit for a tumble, I guess hard time take her, she said, referring to her mother's misfortunes, her strict mother whose 3 men had left her holding 5 pledges to fortune. She came easily into my arms, refusing only to kiss. Any familiarity and we stop right now. Dixerat, as Lacrimae Rerum used to say. She's in the public domain, she's lost her patent rights, but would not kiss. I guess hard time take her. Love, yes. Tenderness, no. Mating's fine. Involvement, woe. Familiarity would spoil the moment's glow. I guess hard time take her. She's in the public domain. She's copied. You have bad mind. Don't tell nobody. Don't make me do it. Don't make me do it. Make me, Lord. You see, I intend to be a nurse. No need to apologize. Lord, it's sweet. But if you try to kiss me, I will scream. At home, the green remains. In England now I hear the window shake and see beyond its astigmatic pane against black limbs autumn's yellow stain splashed about treetops and wet beneath the rake. New England's hills are flattened as crimson lake, and purple columns, all that now remain of trees, stand forward as hillocks do in rain, and up the hillside ruined temples make. At home the green remains. The palm throws back its head and breathes above the still blue sea. The separate hills are lost in common blue. Only the splendid poinsettias, true, and crimson like the northern ivy, tack, but late, the yearly notice to a tree. On seeing the reflection of Notre Dame in the Seine, a man builds better than he knows. The cathedral Stone before floodlights invention, through floodlights shimmering reflection, on matted water long after renews perfection. A man builds better than he knows. What he seeks is not hereafter, but everlasting now well done, the answer in stone or images, built for the now that is forever. With every invention finds further perfection. He makes the poem, the cathedral, the image, the tune, the stone, so sweetly stretch the tension, that is perfection. In stone he cuts stone's dreams, and the world's and his. A man builds better than he knows. A poet at the crossroads, in a strange land, caught by his long-forgotten song, as it falls from a curtained window, suddenly hears it, as I see this night's reflection, steady in the moving stream, knowing that he builds well, who builds better than he knows.
H.A. Vaughan. The old convict. Look at me. I am Ishmael, Ham's heir, the spit and spawn of Cain, the outcast with the twisted brain, lord of Cat's castle, fit for hell. I got no chance. The social odds were dead against me when they sent me up the hill because I went for some forgotten prank to dodge. And so, because they made me wince and stretched me on the legal rack, I took an oath I would hit back and have been hitting ever since. Maybe it is a foolish game, judged by the record. Who likes jail? But then I fought them tooth and nail, and surely that's no cause for shame. Reform, you say? Reform indeed. Let's all reform. They must not quit the golden rule, and I from it will not stray once. That is our need. For certain demagogues. We love the people, sir. You do? You ought to. Nay, indeed you must. Shouting their needs has brought a new elation to your fickle dust. You have the keys of all their hearts, yet neither charity, good sense, nor truth, nor tolerance imparts one sparklet to your eloquence. You pray, but not like beasts of prey. The cobblers fly too far to be your emblem. In a higgling way, you have a place in history. Like blackbirds in their shiny coats, sprinking and lifting spry proud feet, bickering and picking sodden oats from horses offal in the street. To the street shop girl. You too seek beauty. Past the unlovely smells, the aching days, the sweet but tawdry nights, past all the impatient shoppers' shouts and fights, past smirks and saucy words and titters, bells still ring for you in some fair land where dwells your gay young dream of interweaved delights. The prince still waits you there amid the lights and the festal music your desire compels. And yet, each evening, must you still prepare to meet him should he pass your homeward way. But not with sophistry of painted lips, prim speech or step. Only the unruly play about your forehead of some wisp of hair, your happy laughter and your swinging hips. Revelation. Turn sideways now and let them see what loveliness escape the schools, then turn again and smile, and be the perfect answer to those fools who always prate of Greece and Rome, the face that launched 1,000 ships and such like things, but keep tight lips for burnished beauty nearer home. Turn in the sand, my love, my love. What palm-like grace, what poise. I swear I prize these dusky limbs above my life. What laughing eyes, what gleaming hair.